The senator from Florida.
Mr. President, rise today for the hardworking American families who are struggling to make ends meet. These are hardworking American families who are struggling to make ends meet because they are victims of Democrats' political theater. I grew up in public housing and watched my parents struggle to make ends meet. I saw my adopted dad lose his job. I remember when my dad had his car repossessed. When these things happened, I felt the panic my parents dealt with in trying to keep food on the table for me and my siblings when the next paycheck wasn't guaranteed. I don't wish what my family went through on anyone. I actually ran for governor of Florida and the U.S. Senate because I wanted to change this country so fewer families grow up with the struggle that mine did. So it makes me furious to see what Democrats are doing right now with this political stunt of shutting down the Department of Homeland Security. It's been more than a month since this shutdown began. This is the third time in the last 6 months that the hardworking Americans who work to keep us safe each and every day had to worry about how they're going to pay mortgages, pay the rent, buy gas, bring home groceries to feed their kids. It's unfair and it's un-American. I think every American has probably felt the squeeze from this shutdown when they go to the airport. TSA staffing shortages have gone through the roof, and that has meant longer screening times at airports across the country. Lines are stretching out the door and wait times are skyrocketing into hours. People in Atlanta are missing 6 a.m. flights when they showed up to the airport at 3 a.m. in the morning. But the federal employees, the ones who show up to work every day to keep the rest of us safe, are the ones going through the worst of all this shutdown. A union official who represents workers at TSA said, a lot of employees that I've talked to don't have any money in their bank account. They've already missed half a check, so they don't know what bill to pay. This week in my state of Florida, the good folks over at Feeding South Florida distribute food to federal workers who aren't being paid because of this reckless shutdown. Think about the situation that Democrats in the Senate have put DHS workers in. What if your boss called you tonight and said, listen, I need you to come in tomorrow. Your job is absolutely essential to the security of our nation. We need you to help us keep people safe. Millions of people around America rely on you to show up so they can be safe. But management decided not to pay you. And we don't know when management will decide to pay you. What would you do? Who would you call? What would you do when your rent was due? How would you feed your family? What would you do about that car payment coming up? What would you tell your child when you couldn't afford their upcoming field trip or sports lessons? Or forced to cancel the thing that your little boy or girl was really looking forward to? These aren't hypothetical questions. For the more than 50,000 TSA agents, Democrats are forcing to work without pay right now. But don't just think of them as a number. These are Americans, and here are some of their stories. Alondra Galvin. She's a single mom and a TSA officer currently working without pay because of the partial government shutdown. She's been working for TSA for 2 years. Here's what she said. It's very frustrating for everything, from financial restraints to mental instability. There's times at night I'm like, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? She says, I'm a single mom right now. My son usually goes to spring break camps, and I can't afford that right now because there's no money coming in. I just don't know what to do anymore. There's no babysitter. I don't have money to pay a babysitter. So it's all around bad. And she's not alone. There are food banks for DHS employees springing up all over the country, in San Diego, Pittsburgh, Chattanooga. Demand has been so great in Las Vegas that supplies are now limited, and they're looking for more donations, according to one report. Most people have drained through their emergency funds. said TSA agent Johnny James. Majority of TSA agents live paycheck to paycheck, he said. A lot of them still have loans or debts from the previous shutdown, he said. In Omaha, Nebraska, one man started a GoFundMe page to raise donations so he could buy meals delivered to TSA employees at Eppley Airfield. Airports across the country are asking for gift donations, gift card donations, so the people who keep our economy going, people who make it safe and possible for other Americans to visit their families, do business, or go on vacation, can keep scraping while Democrat politicians in this chamber can put on a show for the news cameras and fight for illegal aliens. In Nashville, one TSA supervisor noted people are, quote, starting to get eviction notices. She summed the entire situation up when she told the same newspaper, quote, we are forgotten. Let me tell you another story I read about in the Christian Science Monitor. In an article published 2 days ago, they wrote about a woman named Susan. That is not a real name. She asked to remain anonymous for fear of retribution at work. Her story is real and it is fully verifiable. Susan is a single mother. She has a teenage son. Next month, she will mark her 10th anniversary as a TSA employee. 10 years of showing up. 10 years of being the one who checks the bags, scans the boarding passes, and stands between the traveling public and whatever threats might be lurking. Before the longest government shutdown in American history last fall, the 43-day shutdown, Susan had finally paid off all of her debts, all of them. For a single working mother, that's pretty amazing. Susan went through years of sacrifice, years of careful budgeting, years of telling her son, no, or not yet. And she got there. She was debt-free. Then the fall shutdown came, and the one after that, and now this one. Today, 2 of Susan's credit cards are maxed out. She has 3/4 of a tank of gas left, and enough of the food in the house to make it until yesterday. She has $1.15 in her bank account. Still, when talking to a reporter for the Christian Science Monitor, she said she was one of the more fortunate ones. She said, quote, we just dig in and hope that we get paid before we get evicted and our cars get repossessed. Susan is still going to work every day. She's still showing up to protect the traveling public. She's doing it on empty pockets, on maxed out cards, on borrowed time. And she considers herself one of the lucky ones. Think about what that says about the people who are less fortunate than Susan. Democrat members of the United States Senate. These are our fellow citizens. These are patriotic people who made the decision to serve our federal government, and you are torturing them. Meanwhile, every Democrat senator who voted to start this shutdown is getting paid. Now, the average salary of a TSA agent is around $50,000, Mr. President. U.S. senators make $174,000. And while the folks at TSA are working class Americans fighting every day to live their dreams, the average net worth for a Democrat in the Senate is nearly $3 million. I'm not here to shame those who have worked hard and been successful in life. I've worked my butt off during my life and I've been very successful. And I don't apologize for a second. But in addition to donating my entire Senate salary every year, I'm also not the one sitting here today denying a paycheck to the more than 260,000 hardworking Americans at DHS. The last time the Democrats shut down the government and hurt our federal workers, one of my colleagues on the left said that he couldn't go without his Senate paycheck because he has a mortgage to pay. What the hell do you think the hardworking people at DHS have to do? They have bills to pay. They have mortgages. They have to pay the rent. They have to buy groceries. It makes you sick. It makes you sick to hear a member of the United States Senate who voted to not pay people say something so insulting. Imagine how it makes someone at TSA feel to hear that. A U.S. senator needs to get his paycheck to pay his mortgage, but if you're at DHS, good luck. I think that's disgusting. If Congress shuts down the government, members shouldn't get paid. I have a bill to make sure that's how it works. My No Budget, No Pay Act will keep everyone in this chamber from getting a paycheck if we can't provide them to the hardworking men and women who work in our federal government. There needs to be serious personal consequences for politicians that want to play games with people's lives and cut off their paychecks. We need to pass my No Budget, No Pay Act. After hearing about the suffering the Democrats have caused for the TS agents, I talked about it earlier, how can anyone here oppose this? Sadly, the answer to that question is the same as the answer to the question of how we got here in the first place. I don't get it, but Democrats want to defund the police and shut down ICE and CBP. Why? Because the brave officers in these agencies are simply doing their jobs and enforcing existing U.S. law. Here's what happened. During the Biden administration, Democrats allowed the office and power of a mentally incapacitated president to be hijacked by unelected radical staffers. Once these staffers seized the levers of power without President Biden even realizing it, they opened our southern border and allowed, or actually encouraged, millions upon millions of illegal aliens to flood to the United States. They let criminals in, rapists, murderers, child abusers, drug dealers. They all flooded in. They let drugs pour in over the border and poison the American people. My Democrat colleagues did nothing to stop it. It was a national disaster, and the American people saw that it was intentional and would ruin our nation. So they elected President Trump. They elected President Trump to take the White House and Republicans take control of Congress because the American people knew we would clean up Biden's mess and secure the border. The agenda wasn't a surprise. President Trump ran on securing the border and getting criminal aliens, illegal aliens out of our country. It's probably the biggest reason they elected President Trump. Now that he's executed on that agenda, I don't get it, but Democrats can't stand it. He's doing all of their work to let illegal aliens flood across our border. He's doing it without passing any new laws. He's simply allowing ICE and CBP to do their jobs and enforce the laws that are already on the books. It's incredible what simply letting people do their jobs can accomplish. Now, because radical Democrat mayors and governors won't work with ICE, and in some cases are actively encouraging resistance against our federal law enforcement, there's been conflict. 2 Americans, Alex Priddy and Renee Good, lost their lives with incidents with federal agents. It's horrible. I wish it never happened in this country. My heart goes out to their families. If we didn't have illegal sanctuary cities and states, ICE would be able to peacefully detain individuals at jails. That's how we do it in Florida. We don't have issues with ICE. But there are liberal mayors and governors who want to put the concerns of illegal aliens over American citizens and American law enforcement. It doesn't make any sense to me. President Trump has made offer after offer to Democrats to address the concerns they have with ICE actions they have forced to happen. President Trump is trying to meet this moment with reasonable reforms to how ICE operates. He's even said he'll bring ICE agents to help our TSA agents. But Democrats aren't engaging. There are violent, illegal aliens in our country. We have to remove them. If you don't believe me, here are 3 names. Rachel Marin, Jocelyn Ngari, Laken Riley. Rachel Marin, Jocelyn Ngari, Laken Riley. A mother and a child and a college student. All murders. 3 lives that were shattered. 3 families that were devastated. Why? Because of the horrific violence caused by an illegal alien. These are the people that ICE is targeting. And in my mind, it's worth it. If ICE can save one person, if ICE can prevent another woman facing the same fate as Rachel Marin, Jocelyn Ngari, and Lincoln Riley, it's worth it. I don't get it, but Democrats insist on protecting illegal aliens with sanctuary policies while they spit in the faces of American law enforcement officers who risk their lives every single day to keep us safe. It's happening here just outside Washington. Last month, a 40-year-old mother from Fredericksburg, Virginia, was stabbed to death. She was stabbed to death while standing at a bus stop in Fairfax County, Virginia. Her name was Stephanie Minter. On a Monday morning, a mother was ripped from her children by an illegal alien that officials in Virginia refused to let ICE deport. Stephanie's alleged killer had a long criminal record. He was a known violent criminal who Fairfax County described as being, quote, a danger to the community. But not only was he never handed over to ICE, he was let off the hook again and again. He had more than 30 arrests to his name and charges of malicious wounding, assault, drug possession, identity theft, firing a weapon, contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Over and over, the charges were dropped and he was released. But this injustice in Fairfax County wasn't limited to the alleged killer who murdered Stephanie Minter. The Center for Immigration Studies found that from October 2022 through February 2025, the Fairfax County Adult Detention Center freed more than 1,000 deportable individuals in direct defiance of over 1,150 ICE detainers. Fairfax County ranked third in the entire nation for refusing to honor ICE detainee requests. And soon, all of Virginia could follow suit. Because the same week that Stephanie Minter was murdered at that bus stop, new Governor Spanberger ordered the termination of all 287G agreements between state agency and ICE. Think about that for a second and ask yourself, how could this happen in America? Sadly, this is the reality facing Americans in Democrat cities, counties, and states. According to DHS, sanctuary jurisdictions across the country declined to honor 17,864 ICE detainer requests in 2025 alone, nearly 18,000 in 1 year. In California alone, over 4,500 criminal individuals have been released since January 2025, despite active ICE detainers. The crimes those individuals were associated with include homicides, assaults, burglaries, and sexual offenses. In New York, ICE has documented cases where individuals with records including rape, strangulation, and burglary were repeatedly released by sanctuary policies. First, Democrats passed sanctuary laws to protect violent illegals that they know their source-funded prosecutors won't go after. Now Democrats are trying to destroy ICE completely so that the very system of brave law enforcement officers, which was established to save the lives of individuals like Stephanie, Lincoln, Rachel, and Jocelyn, could no longer protect our families. Mr. President, I don't know why the Democrats want to defund our law enforcement. I don't understand why they want to watch as TS agents suffer without pay. I don't know why Democrats are fine seeing Americans wait hours in line for a flight. And the thing I struggle with the most is I don't know why the left is so hell-bent on protecting illegal aliens while letting a mother like Stephanie Minter be stabbed to death at a bus stop. It doesn't make sense to me. I think it's time for Democrats to come to their senses and fund DHS. To the hardworking individuals at DHS, I'm sorry this is happening to you. You absolutely deserve to be paid and respected. You deserve a shot at the American dream. My heart goes out to you and your family. These individuals chose to take a job where every second of their professional life is spent protecting their fellow Americans and keeping their homeland safe. They didn't sign up to not get paid. When they agreed to take these jobs, the federal government made a deal with them. that they would be provided for, and we are failing on our end of that agreement. Now, these people who are working full-time, dealing with long lines, very frustrated travelers, and long, brutal days, dead on their feet, many probably working overtime to protect us, are going home to empty refrigerators, overdue bills, and eviction notice because of my Democrat colleagues' political theater for illegal aliens. And if you look at some of the half measure Democrats have put forward to get themselves out of this situation, it's obvious. They do not care about whether TSA, FEMA, and the Coast Guard are paid, and they want to absolutely shut down ICE and CBP. That's just another way of saying they want to defund the police so they can hamstring our ability to enforce immigration laws. Again, not for the benefit of American citizens, but for the benefit of illegal aliens. Mr. President, I think we've had enough of this political theater. We've had enough of the hypocrisy. We need to make sure these individuals get paid. It's unfair to deny paychecks to our TSA agents and more than 200,000 other DHS workers. And we can't allow more heartbreaking stories like Alondra, Susan, Rachel, Jocelyn, Lakin, and Stephanie. America is better than this. And I'm not going to stop fighting until these radical attempts end to put illegal aliens before American citizens. Mr. President, I yield the floor.